Good evening and welcome to our August 12th Orange County Mid-Decennial Redistricting Advisory Committee. I want to call the meeting to order. Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Chesky. Member Jackson. Here. Member Kilsheimer.
Here.
Member De La Portilla.
Here.
Member Arias. Member Callen. Member Jones. Here. Co-Chair Perez.
Present.
Co-Chair Evans.
Here.
Member Baga.
Here.
Member Washington. Member Spears.
Here.
Member Alfant.
Presente.
Member Pizzini.
Here.
Member Henry.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this point, I will open public comment. Let me just say, if you wish to speak, if you want to be heard, please fill out a public comment card. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. When I call your name, please come up and give your name and address. Before we go into our public comment, I see Commissioner Uribe is here and Commissioner Scott are here. Commissioner Uribe, would you like to? Okay, Commissioner Scott? I didn't hear what you said, Commissioner. At the end of public comment, okay. That may be a while.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Myra Uribe, Orange County Commissioner, District 3. I want to thank you all. I pretty much have been coming in front of you all and just really been supportive and trying to give some guidance on what we'd like to see. And it's not necessarily me. It's the knowledge that we're hearing. I'm really happily surprised to see a concern out in the community of trying to keep some consistency. And last week, I did have an opportunity to have a discussion, and I wanted to kind of just share my thoughts on some maps that I like and some maps that I'd like to see some possibility of merging some consistency. I will say on the Baga map, I appreciate your efforts. One of the biggest things that is done, you split Belle Isle, which inadvertently splits Lake Conway, which is under the purview of a commissioner, and it carries 2 cities in unincorporated Orange County with the county overseeing that. And so essentially, you've split a community in half, specifically as we were talking about, you split a municipality in half that has a long traditional record of being a part of Pine Castle. And the Taft community is Belle Isle, which goes into Conway. The lake gets split, which would actually be very hard to jurisdictionally give that opportunity for a commissioner over the NAV board and how those board positions are done. But more importantly, you've got a community you've split in half that has a lot in common, has always been together, whether it was in District 3 or District 4. So I would ask in that sense, and I will tell you that the lower part of Pine Castle has nothing consistent with Winter Park and Maitland and so forth. And also when you look at demographically, it's lower middle class at the bottom, and then it goes obviously, and I worry about having a voice for the voters. Also similarly, I look at Washington Map 2, which I also disagree. It splits majority communities in half, literally in half, which is putting part of Conway all the way up to Maitland and Winter Park. Again, like the Baga map, itches out Cimarron and then splits the lower part of Pine Castle out of it. And I just think that the Baga map and the Washington map 2 really are very inconsistent. They split up groups and they take things that aren't actually no cohesiveness between the northern part of that district and all the way up to the Seminole County line. I do support the Callan 2 map, and I have to say the Henry map 1 and 2. If we could merge them, we'd have perfection, because you actually have a lot of what I like out of the Callan map. I would love to see a little bit more consistency in the District 3 and a little bit more on the west side of the county, some consistent. So if I had to pick between both your maps, I prefer 1, but I actually see something very important between 1 and 2. So I don't know how the dialogue goes at this point. Jason, I want to commend you because it just seems a lot more consistent in your map when I look at the community. Just a little concern of where you put the line on your blue part. So on map 1, you go all the way over, which is very consistent with the community that you've included. But on map 2, you cut out a significant part, which is that part all the way to the left. So what you have right here, you cut it out, and that is a community that goes together. And it is in Mr. Callen's map. So that entire area is together. So one map you have and the other you don't. But I also look at, the green area of trying to be a little bit more consistent with those folks, which you're almost there. I mean, you are literally almost there, Jason. So I don't know if I'm hoping Tom will be here shortly, that there might be some collaboration between your 1 and 2 and his to get us there, because it looks like there's progress. I looked at it holistically on the west side, the east side, the district, what that community is made up of, and I believe that there is a lot of cohesiveness. But I hope that the committee will turn down the Baga and the Washington 2 map, because it really does a disservice to the middle core of Orange County, which is the heart of Orange County, the oldest part of it. Again, this is such a tremendous work, and I'm hoping, and the reason why I'm giving a comment, and I hope my colleagues, and clearly Commissioner Scott will at the end, is that we want to kind of help put some feedback to create some consistency that we'll be able to see when it comes in front of the council. And I think ultimately, really, if you look at the makeup of the board, essentially, with the exception of Commissioner Wilson and Commissioner Semrod, every other seat, including the new seats, will be up for election. So it is very, very important to try to advocate for those, because there's pretty much very little people left on this board that'll be able to know what it means to represent those communities, what it's been like, the consistency. I can tell you my nickname by the sheriff's office in my district is the GPS, because I was born and raised in Pine Castle, so I know every back road, I know every community, I've got 26 elementary schools, 5 middle schools, and 4 high schools in my district, and I've been to every single one of them, and I know what those communities consist of. And so, Jason, I want to commend you. Like, it's so there. But I hope Tom will arrive shortly, and somehow there can be some collaboration. But I do hope that the Baga map will be removed, because, again, nobody in Pine Castle has anything in common with Winter Park. And same can be said for the Washington 2 map. Again, you just don't have that consistency at all with the northern part. And you want to keep these cities together as much as you can. Thank you very much. Thank you for all you do, and great work. And I almost feel like I'm overstepping, but I think this is the point where I have to kind of give an opinion so that you guys can hear from us who represent this community and what we're hearing out there. So thank you all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Semrod, would you like to say a few words? I saw you sneaking.
Hi, everyone. How are you? Thank you so much for your service. And while Commissioner Uribe didn't want to overstep, I'm here to overstep.
You feel free.
Yes. So I'm looking at maps that have District 5, let's say it's called District 5 where I am, that are 100% or 98% completely unincorporated. That doesn't mean that that district commissioner gets more budget. That doesn't mean that that district commissioner gets more staff. So let's consider a hurricane season. And all of us in the office, District 5, my team can attest to how many calls we get saying, when is the debris going to be picked up? When is my road going to be open? Imagine that all you have is one layer of government at the county with absolutely no municipal overlays. That creates an incredible challenge without additional staff, without additional services to ensure equitable representation in our county services. So while that's not a federal requirement to meet, any map that places 98%, 100% of a population without any municipal overlay, while you have other districts that have almost 100% incorporated, that creates an unequitable representation of service access. And I'm here to please ask that this board would look at those maps, and in consideration of those those maps that have districts that have no incorporated overlay, that you consider how that impacts the quality of life, the representation, and the equitable nature of how services can be distributed to 180,000 people. 180,000 people that will get one commissioner, which if you look in my map would be me and my team, versus others that are mostly incorporated. That's a really hard sell to community members. I understand that I've served on redistricting. I get it. It's about a number. It's about the precincts. It's about keeping communities together, but it's also about equal representation, and equal representation also advocates for equitable access to services. And a map with 98% unincorporated in District 5, in communities that have carcinogens in their water, no access to clean and affordable water, no access to mass transport, no job corridor any longer. It's not a map I'm going to get behind, and it's not a map that any of you should get behind. So please, when you're looking at the maps, please consider what is the ratio of what we look at in terms of unincorporated population versus those incorporated, and consider that in terms of what maps make it through and what maps are eliminated. To have those that are mostly unincorporated represented only in a couple of districts, that's not right. It's not right by our communities. It's not right by the staff that tries to man and to best serve those teams, and it's not right to the communities. So thank you so much for your community, and I apologize my overstep. I hope you hear me loud and clear. It's my second time coming making the same comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Wilson, you snuck in as well.
Thank you so much, and good evening, co-chairs and committee members and public. My goodness, thank you for continuing to show up. So it's funny because I think we're all hand-wringing in our offices about these issues, and it makes me feel a little better. We don't get to go chat with each other about some of these. Obviously, with sunshine laws, you don't want that, but it's nice to know that we're all continuing to follow closely. I do think, if it's okay, can I put something on the overhead? Part of what I wanted to see if I could do for, at the very least, some context. There has been a lot of discussion about the historic pieces of West Orange County, and we should be severing the historic pieces of West Orange County from the newer. And I've been here for a long time, but I haven't been really involved in government the entire time. But I did go back and pull. So as you can see, District 1 in 1989 did include those core municipalities of Winter Garden, Oakland, Windermere, but not Apopka. And then we're going to fast forward to, we got 2000. We got 2001. You can see, what's happening here. We're moving in a little bit there because, of course, District 1. We border Osceola County on the south, Lake County there on this side. So you only have so many places, right, that we can see these cuts from, which you all have been really trying to navigate as best as possible. And I do think there's a lot of good work that's being done. But continuing on to the people that hired me, and actually, I'm going to go back a little bit. These are the people that hired me. So this is the way District 1 looked in 2020. And interestingly, at that time, Ocoee was split into 1 and 2. And Ocoee approached, and I know some of you are on that redistricting committee, Ocoee approached and asked to be put wholly into a district. And so that was respected, and of course, we have the district that we are currently navigating now in following that. The reason why I think it's an important piece for us to talk about is that at least one of the maps puts Apopka, Winter Garden, Oakland, and Ocoee all in one district. And much to the same concern that Commissioner Simrod has, it would then take District 1, and I'm a termed out commissioner and gratefully here to talk about continuing to represent and make sure that in the future that representation is fair, but this isn't my political fight to have, but that will leave the left part of District 1 as like 94, 95% unincorporated. And so that balance, and I know there's not going to be a perfect district, but the balance needs to be there, and especially when the history of a district has included Oakland, Winter Garden, Windermere from day one. And so the maps that take the line from Lake Apopka, drop them down through Winter Garden and cut out those municipal areas. What they've done, and especially I believe map 2, it aligns itself actually with the municipal lines of Winter Garden, but the problem with that is that's a JPA that we continue to work on. And so it's really difficult to look at that and not see that there's some very specific areas that don't have good continuity through the rural settlement out in Lars, and quite frankly, it concerns me with some of the other areas directly around the 429 in southern part, the more newer areas of Winter Garden. And so for people that think there's some, gate that you enter through for historic Winter Garden is beautiful, it's wonderful, but it's a very small stretch of Winter Garden. The rest of Winter Garden, and there's quite a bit of Winter Garden that has new areas that we work closely with Winter Garden and do have a JPA. I think I see some friends in the back that know very much about this. And the important part there is to make sure that those things can be represented with the collaboration in the municipalities. The other piece that I wanted to point out was that there are maps that with that cut, and I mean the cut along 50 or the cut that drops Winter Garden and Oakland from District 1, you eliminate all of the county assets. Well, District 1 would no longer have a community center. District 1 would no longer have a neighborhood center for families. District 1 would no longer have a place to have this meeting. Remember when you came out to beautiful District 1, that goes away. And so those assets, on top of being part of the East Winter Garden CRA, they're county assets, and they allow us to really be able to collaborate to best serve our community. And so losing those is something I would never be able to support. So you have several maps that I believe continue to protect those District 1 assets and the Orange County interests that West Orange County has been really grateful to have all these years, and we want to make sure that we provide that consistency for years to come. So thank you so much. I know you have a difficult job ahead of you. If you have any questions, you know where I am. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. You still want to go last, Commissioner Scott? Okay. We will start public comment. I've got a handful of cards. If there's anyone out there who wishes to address through public comment and you haven't filled out a card, please do so. I know we're at like meeting 20-something, so everybody knows the routine, but notwithstanding. Our first speaker is Wes Hodge. Wes was on the redistricting committee last time, performed brilliantly. But as you know, I need your name and address, and you got 3 minutes.
That was some great walk-up commentary. I appreciate it.
I'm there for you, man.
This is great. So Wes Hodge, my address is 2401 Drake Drive in Orlando, 32810. And yes, I did serve on this board 5 years ago, and I do want to say thank you all for your service. I know how your eyes must feel at this point. And so thank you. Thank you to our staff for all of your support, and thank you for the public out here to comment. That's why I'm here. I really don't want to weigh in on maps or share my opinion, but I've sat in a couple of meetings, and I've been nosy and looked over people's shoulders and noticed that they're in group chats with former candidates and political consultants, and we're asked to give commentary on specific maps. And it concerns me because there's an effort to manufacture community support for a map that does not exist were it not for this person pushing their own personal interest. And so I came to you all to ask for you all to consider moving forward as people speak. I'm not here, I'm here of my own free volition. Nobody asked me to be here. But I think it's important for other speakers to disclose if they were asked to be here and speak in support of a specific map and who asked them to do that. Because the support that we're seeing is not actually support. It's an effort to push a particular map forward. And so I just think that you all should be aware of that. I think it's important because when things are going on underneath the surface, we need to know about that. And I just wanted to raise that to your all's awareness. Do with it what you may. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Hodge. Our next speaker is Vicky Vargo, and she will be followed by Sarah Hibbs, followed by Nicole Calvert. Ms. Vargo, as you know, name and address, please. 3 minutes.
Vicky Vargo, 3800 Wingfoot Court, 32808, Orlando. And so just a couple things. I thank you for your time. It has been interesting and long, and I'm looking forward to seeing the fruition of all your work, and I appreciate how each of you have listened intently to all the public comment. Oh, there goes my voice. And so just a couple things. Again, asking that for the assignment of district 8 to go to the Northern District, which would be a commissioner that would have 2 4-year terms. Most of that district is going to have infill development. Most of it will probably be in the municipality, so there's no need to have an extended or potentially 10-year commissioner, which might benefit the Lake Nona area or some other area. 2, I'm asking that you keep Rosemont with College Park and some of the other City of Orlando District 3. And that's, in part, we haven't talked much, but that has a lot to do with code compliance and management of community standards. So, for example, the City of Orlando has a code requirement where your grass can grow 8 inches. Unincorporated Orange County has 18 before you can even report it. So if you're to slice off Rosemont from similar communities of care solely by itself with unincorporated counties, it just doesn't really work very well. As to Winter Park, I know Winter Park is expressed to be put together. I think that's a really good idea. You probably are aware that Winter Park addresses go all the way to Forsyth Road. And now that I know that the District 4 would agree to the Big East neighborhoods all going into District 5 at the same time, I think that's really good. I would have never dreamed that. That's why my map, I thought I'd do a few now, and then we'd finish up in 2030. But commissioners for District 4 seem to be amenable to having them all go in. And my last thing is, when you're creating the district, there's a lot with annexations going on in the east. And to create a district that goes from downtown Orlando to the Brevard County line, well, let me just be candid. I think that would be a little bit hypocritical to do that and then come back and criticize the City of Orlando for annexing in the east. It just doesn't seem to go that well. So if you extended Winter Park to Forsyth, that would be a good thing, I think, for that community. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Vargo. Sarah Hibbs, again, followed by Nicole Calvert, followed by Evelyn Ray.
Hello, good evening. My name is Sarah Hibbs. My address is 16049 Ridgehaven Alley in Winter Garden. I'm one of your faithful many that follow along at home because I have a house full of teenagers and can't always come out here because they'll probably burn my house down. So I had developed a map that was withdrawn because it was very similar to all of your other maps, so you're welcome for the time back. But the principles that we developed on, or I developed it on, was based on the idea of keeping like with like and the things that influence each other together. I feel like pulling Winter Garden out of District 1 is not doing those things. Their traffic is my traffic in Horizon West. My traffic is, in fact, theirs too. The things that they choose to do, in fact, impacts all of us as similar the other direction. We share a lot of resources, and the community is, we're all in the same area. We shouldn't be split apart. Keeping that in mind, I would ask you guys remove your support for map number 2, as well as maps number 4 and 5. They take Winter Garden out of District 1. I don't really support that. And then I would like to support and wholeheartedly recommend maps number 1, 3, 6, and 7. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jimmy? Yeah, and let me just, no, there is, but there's not. Let me just jump in because I don't want confusion to be caused, and I apologize for the wait. In front of you, in your packet that was delivered tonight, is a accepted map statistical comparison, and Co-Chair Evans and I met with staff at length this morning and asked for certain things, and this is one of the tools. And you'll see at the very top, the maps are numbered 1 through 7, just in the order of acceptance. So map 1 is a font, map 2 is Washington, map 3 is Baga, and so it's there in front of you. I wanted to make sure there was no confusion there. Does that answer your question, Jimmy? It'll be on the website, yeah. Right. Gotcha, yeah, it's on the site, Jim. It's on our site. Yeah.
But we're assuming that they know that.
Well, but it's on their site as accepted map too. Alejandro, did you want to add something to the conversation? I mean,
Yeah,
we're
just
in
a quick
public
question,
comment.
because I'm looking at a font 2, Baga 2, and then it says, it looks pretty much exactly the same, so I'm not sure the numbering of the maps,
So the numbering of the maps was by the order that we approved them. And if you're talking about the maps in the packet, we can deal with that in our staff piece of the meeting. I don't want to interrupt public comment, yes. You good? Great. Ms. Hibbs, I apologize for the delay.
Okay.
Name and address, please, you've got 3 minutes.
Nicole Calvert. I live at 2157 Tillman Avenue
that's right.
in Winter Garden.
Sorry.
Over the past several months, I've been following this process closely. I've attended meetings, watched online, read what I could, and have been trying to learn as much as possible about how this remapping will affect our community. I will be honest, it hasn't been easiest to figure out. When looking at a particular map, I realized I was not sure whether my home would be in the new version of District 2 or in District 1 with Horizon West. I had to seek help reading the map because our home is located directly on the border of the incorporated city of Winter Garden. I have lived in West Orange County for over 20 years. When we first moved there, the main road ended in a dirt trail. We witnessed the revitalization of our historical town and watched the area grow around us. We raised our 3 children in Winter Garden, where I was heavily involved in the public schools they attended. The organizations that I work with and volunteer with are all located in and serve the community of Winter Garden. I say all this because I'm concerned about the possibility of our city being split between the many maps being considered. Winter Garden is where my daily life is centered, and it's where I feel the strongest connection. I have seen firsthand the differences between these areas, and I am grateful that I'm located in Winter Garden, an area rich in tradition, history, and a strong sense of belonging. This is why I'm asking for support of Washington 2. It allows Horizon West to get the focused attention it deserves as a rapidly growing community while keeping historic Winter Garden united and represented in a way that reflects who we are. I have heard resident after resident speak in support of separating these 2 areas. Washington 2 is the only map that does this correctly without breaking the city of Winter Garden apart. Please consider my voice as one among the many you have heard from the West Side. Asking you to listen, please support Washington 2. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Calvert. Evelyn Ray will be followed by, looks like Edward William, followed by Eugene Staccato.
Good evening. My name is Evelyn Ray, address 1004 Empress Lane, 32825. I'm here to support map 6. It's difficult to say your last name, so I'm sorry. Often. So map 6. So
Thank you.
the reason is because it map 6 give a voice to those communities that were silenced before. And part of that is making Pine Hills one community, be representative as one community instead of divided. And also because the Hispanic, it gives the importance of how fast and how fast the Hispanic community is growing in the area and how important it is for our development as the county. So while all the maps seeks to redesign the whole existing map, Map 6 is looking into use that as a base and build upon it instead of discard it. So in my opinion, Map 6 has everything, at least on my point of view, that will help us be fair and give everybody a voice. So please keep, as a board, keep the Map 6 moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ray. Mr. William, name and address, and you got 3 minutes.
Just for the record. Good evening, Ed Williams, 300 West Plant Street, Winter Garden. I'm here representing the city of Winter Garden. Sure. The city is interested in recommending to you and having you adopt, with some revisions, Map 2, Washington 2. That particular map joins Oakland, Winter Garden, Ocoee, and Apopka. We have strong working relationships with each of those municipalities. We have territorial agreements. We work on development projects together. Winter Garden supplies water to Oakland. Ocoee has some of our sewer plants located in their property. We have a long history of working together. Several of the cities, Oakland, Winter Garden, and Ocoee, are running out of developable land very quickly, so our population growth is not going to be that fast going into the future. Apopka still has a great deal of land that's vacant and available. When you look at the map, be very careful. I made a mistake of, when I looked at it, I said Apopka area is too big. The problem is Lake Apopka takes up a good hunk of that, and the Wekiva protection area takes up another large chunk. So the amount of Apopka is probably less than half of what's shown in that yellow area. The other advantage to Map 2 is District 1. District 1 is Horizons West, Disney, International Drive, the fastest growing area in the county. It's going to blow its population balance within a year of adopting this. It is growing at that fast a rate. By making it smaller than Oakland, Winter Garden, Apopka, and those, we're actually cutting down that and slowing the amount of time it will take before they exceed their balance of population. I understood, and I really hadn't looked at the issues that Commissioner Uribe said with those developed areas in the center of the map. Those are solvable. The good thing about this is you guys are getting towards the end. The big issues have been addressed. You all have a great feel for it. Now you can solve problems of different parts of the downtown area and Maitland and Winter Garden, how they do, or Commissioner Semrad's issue. You can focus on smaller issues that are bigger to individual areas. And if this map 2 is any indication, you'll be able to solve those issues. So we're recommending that you support 2 with revisions based on those comments from earlier and additional comments you get between now and the next couple of meetings. But we would like to see map 2 with its incorporation of those 4 municipalities together and the smaller Horizons West area. And thank you for your efforts.
Thank you, Mr. William. Eugene Staccato, and you certainly know the drill.
I guess I have a presentation. Do I have to do anything? Okay. Eugene Staccato, 331 Roswell Avenue. This right here is map 4 and 3. 4, what I'm looking at is the shapes here. 4 here has, I think, good compact shapeness in the middle. 5, map 3, I kind of like the way it's kind of different, just because done something a little different. Winter Park, downtown Orlando is one. They broke 2 districts here. Map 4 has 4 white, 1 black, 1 Hispanic. Map 3 has 4 white, 2 black, 3 Hispanic. I'm a little nervous when you start getting into 2 districts for blacks because it's between 37 and 41%, and it's getting kind of low, and I'm not sure if you're going to be able to pull that off to get a person elected. It's all about turnout at that point. The next page. Oh, good, it worked. Map 7 and 6. 7 and 6 represent really a whole series of maps. 1, 6, and 7, all kind of based on Mr. Afont's original map, and they all have that general shapeness. I like these maps because they kind of fit what we've been working with in the last 30 years. There's some controversy about Winter Park or Maitland being in District 5. As a former Winter Parker, I don't have a problem with that. I think that's how you fit one of the density issues where otherwise you got to draw into Avalon here and start getting some more weird connections. I think this is a good natural break over here, which forces something to happen over here when you squeeze the balloon around. Again, those districts are 3 white, 2 black, 3 Hispanic, and map 6 is 3, 2, and 3. So again, it's a little nerve-wracking when you start breaking those District 6 up like that. Finally, I'll put a hat on here. I didn't select a couple of the maps because one of them I feel is partisan driven. And that one I'm nervous about. As a league person, I look at maps and try to see what represents people most best put in communities, cities and towns and communities. So that's why one of the maps I think is not well drawn, and it's probably drawn for a former candidate. So that one I didn't look at. But I think the map 4 and 3 and 7 are 3 maps, 7 being a whole series of maps. So you can eliminate a number of those maps, and that's the objective I think that you guys want to try to get down to 2 or 3 maps so you have a fighting chance to get to the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Staccato. Very interesting. Next up is Jared Cornell, who will be followed by Jaylene Reet, who will be followed by Bijou Barthosen. Sorry, whoever you are, I apologize. Mr. Cornell.
Good evening, members of the committee. My name is Jared Cornell, and I reside at 1012 Wilkinson Street in Orlando, 32803. I am a member of the District 5 team. However, I am here in my own capacity, speaking with my own views and lived experience as a lifelong resident of Orange County. Nationwide, we're all seeing it, that we are facing a redistricting crisis that oftentimes is met with unethical principles and practices. And we're starting to see that risk at our state level here in the beautiful state of Florida, and it is now beginning to permeate into Orange County. We are in this room because we are all responsible for looking out for the communities that we all care about here. And it is incumbent upon us to shield our communities from any sort of undue risk and burdens onto our constituents. And that's why I speak today. As this process has progressed, it has become clear to me that certain maps are designed with special interests in mind, specifically related to candidates, which I will not name. However, there are 2 maps that I find of particular concern for this individual, Washington 2 and Callan 2. First, both District 7s, well, let me take a step back. One of the major concerns that I have with these maps is talking about the overshadowing of historically vibrant Black communities in our county. Both District 7s and Washington 2 and Callan 2 lump in historically Black neighborhoods like Eatonville, Fairview Shores, and Lockhart into predominantly white districts like Winter Park and Maitland, which risks overshadowing and silencing the voices of our Black constituents. We cannot allow this to happen. Secondly, as a staff member of District 5, I can attest to the concerns that Commissioner Semrad voiced to you all earlier regarding the level of service that we give to our constituents. If we look at Washington 2 and Callan 2, Washington 2 in District 5 has a 91.5% unincorporated population, 91.5%, and Callan 2 is even worse with 97.8% of its constituents that would be unincorporated. I can tell you as a District 5 staff member that is unacceptable, and it exposes our communities to risk that only one representative would be able to address, and we need to make sure that that is not going to happen when inevitably we have natural disasters that come in and year out. This is our job. Families in our community should not have to worry about what community they're in. What part of it is unincorporated. It is our job to ensure that they receive the highest level of service. So I implore you all to strike down Washington 2 and Callan 2. Thank you all so much for your dedicated service and listening to our concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Cornell. Jaylene Ruiz?
Ruiz. Ruiz.
It looks like a T, but okay.
My apologies.
Ruiz.
Hello, my name is Jaylene Ruiz. I live in 12969 Mallory Circle, Orlando, Florida 32828. I come today to support the Afont 2 map, which is map 6. When reviewing the map, its purpose is to give an opportunity to have accessibility and, more importantly, to provide the path of inclusivity for future growing and vibrant communities within the locality of Central Florida. With that, I ask to keep this map for consideration when moving forward with your decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Bijou Bartholomazar. I don't know. Baltazar? Okay, well, we will skip Bijou Baltazar till the end, but before Commissioner Scott. Kinsey Myers, followed by Felipe Sousa, followed by Samuel Delgado. Ms. Myers, just name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Kinsey Myers from 4008 McGuire Boulevard, Orlando, Florida 32803, and I'm here to support the Afont 2 redistricting plan map. I believe it meets all the requirements, keeps all the districts contiguous, and preserves the core of each district. It also maintains fair representation for all the communities. This is a balanced and equitable map for Orange County. Thank you, committee members.
Thank you very much. Felipe Sousa, oh, I didn't see the rest. La Zabale.
It's a long name. It's okay. Hello, committee members. I am Felipe Sosa Lazabale, and I live at 5715 Satel Drive, Orlando, Florida 3280810. I care deeply about fair representation because I know what it's like to grow up feeling invisible in the place where decisions are made. As an LGBTQ plus immigrant, as someone who's faced barriers and had to fight for every opportunity, I've seen how much it matters to have leaders who truly understand the community they serve. That's why I dedicated my life to making sure voices, especially those too often left out, are heard, represented, and reflected in government. And that's why the Henry II map matters to me. It's not just about drawing lines on paper, it's about protecting the heart of our neighborhoods. This plan keeps communities together. None of Orange County's 39 census-designated places are split. Only 1 out of 13 municipalities, Orlando, is divided among districts. Every other city stays whole. That means neighborhoods can speak with one unified voice, and collaboration between cities and the county stays strong. Stability matters too. This map keeps the core of our current districts so residents can continue working with the same general areas and representatives they know. No commissioner is displaced, and less than 10% of our precincts, just 19 out of 250, are changed. That means voters won't face confusion or disruption when they show up to cast their ballot. And it reflects something I've spent my career fighting for, true diversity in representation. The Henry II map creates 2 districts where Black voters are plurality a majority, and 3 where Hispanic voters are. These align with the Voting Rights Act, and they make sure communities have the opportunity to elect leaders who share our lived experience and our priorities. Every district is compact and rooted in real communities of interest, not artificial or partisan boundaries. Most importantly, it fully meets federal and state requirements, protects voting rights, and reflects the voices we've heard from people who live there. For me, this is more than just about a technical standard. It's about dignity, it's about belonging, it's about fairness. It's about making sure that no matter who you are or where you live, your community has a real voice in shaping its future. That's what the Henry II map delivers, and that's why I'm standing here in support of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Lasbalet. Samuel Legado.
Hello, good evening, board members. I am Sam Delgado. I work with Central Florida Jobs with Justice, and my address is 1510 East Colonial Drive. I'm here once again to speak in favor of Map 7, that's Henry II. As an organizer with Central Florida Jobs with Justice, we're a coalition of labor unions and other community-based organizations. And with that grounding, we chose to work with Las Semillas of Pine Hills, recognizing that the interests of working people, the workers of Orange County, as well as the community members, should be the focus that is guiding the development of the creation of these districts. And so with that in mind, we worked on this map together, seeking to balance, keeping municipalities and historical census tracts together, while also keeping in mind that the economic drivers located within each district are going to be really critical decision-making factors in whoever the representative is that gets elected to that office. And so that was like a lot of the decision-making and discussions that went into the creation of this map. Also, listening to you all and the priorities that had been brought to this dais over the last several weeks. And so, just really echoing a lot of what has been spoken in here today. We're really urging you to share those same priorities and maintain your consideration of this map. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Delgado. 7, every week you make me not be able to read your last name, 7, so. Charleston. We all know it, but I just can't read it. Welcome back. You know the drill.
My handwriting hasn't always been the best. 7 Charleston. I live in District 6, and I was one of the co-authors of Henry II. Me and other residents from the Pine Hills and District 6, and also labor organizations and folks thought that we should do our best to make a map that is both equitable and fair. There's a lot of fear in my community, especially that we would lose some access to voting power throughout this process, because if somebody has to lose something, it's usually the lower economic areas, and we don't want to be the ones. So I'm not sure how the process goes. It's my first time being in a redistricting process. I did hear last time that maybe you guys have to cut some maps. So I wanted to advocate again for Henry I and Henry II. I know a lot of folks feel like maybe there should be one Henry map, but as I look at the maps, I feel like they're very different maps, and that don't want to feel like we're tokenizing the District 6 residents to at least have one map, but I want the maps to be looked at for the rigor of what's in the maps. And I think our map did a good job of keeping all the municipalities outside of City of Orlando together, and we're one of the few maps where we try to create a minority access district for the African American community, and we have districts where there's at least 10 plus percentage points of a plurality for those communities, since there is a very low voter turnout areas traditionally in those communities. We want to be able to give them a chance to take control of the future of their communities. So with our map, we took that in consideration, and especially having different communities that have, well, not different communities, different communities that have similar concerns and issues, to keep them together so that they'd be able to work on those issues, specifically when it comes to gentrification, when it comes to gentrification, housing affordability, and employment, and what have you. I know there are other maps that are better with certain issues, but we made sure our map stayed close to the issue of fairness and equity, and we hope that it'll be considered. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Charleston. David Cicado, followed by Jim Callahan.
I made it on time today. I'm here. David Caicedo, he, him pronouns, and I am part of Las Semillas and one of the co-creators also and in support of MAP 7. Where do I start? So, our map doesn't separate communities. We didn't split census-designated places. We were intentional not to split neighborhoods or communities, unlike many other maps. We were wanting to not split Pine Hills and made sure that we kept Pine Hills united. And there's been mention, right? I'm also kind of like a data buff. I know like others. And there's been mention of census numbers and that the future of the districts. But one thing that census does not account for is diversity within races. Like for me, I'm Afro-Latino, and I'm forced to choose either Afro or Latino, and I know that there's actually a growing population of folks that are multiracial that aren't being taken into account. I also think that we made sure, and this speaks to what Seven was saying, that we made sure to prioritize fairness and the needs of our communities. Like in map for Washington 2, map 2, while it keeps traditional Western communities together, according to some people, they break up other communities in the West, like Pine Hills, and many others on the East side. Washington 2 works for like a few communities, but again, our map 7, actually took more than just our community of concern into consideration. And an example of that is we also have in District 7 8.64 margin within the Hispanic voters, which is the next highest racial ethnicity and ethnic group in District 6. And we also have, I think in closing, because I have 30 seconds left, right? What good is it for there to be a 40+% of the Black population in one district of voting age if the next one is less than 5 points of a white population, right? Because it shows that in the future and when it comes out to vote turnout, those black voters are going to be historically marginalized and not listened to. So just take a look at all of the percentages and not just for one population. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caicedo. Jim Callahan.
Jim Callahan, 204 East South Street. I came to, again, speak in support of MAP 7, Henry 2, but I did see some support for Washington 2, which doesn't work for me in the eastern portion of the county. But if the reason for support of Washington 2 is districts 1 and 2, I haven't analyzed the Washington 2 districts 1 and 2. If that's preferable for some reason, you know, I might be willing to accept an amendment. Otherwise, District 7 is a map, though imperfect, I could accept as is with no amendments. Map 7. But I don't like Maitland being in the Pine Hills district, but the idea of amending a map and moving the entire city of Maitland, you can't really do that without stirring the entire pot. And so I'm not sure that would be feasible. So good luck tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Callahan. We appreciate that. Okay, Bijou Baltazan? Foxtan Lane, Oviedo? Okay, not here. Commissioner Scott? Yeah, that, by the way, that was my last card. If anyone else wishes to speak, please fill out a form. I think we know that by now, but.
Yeah, she said she wanted to speak again. So.
Okay.
Good evening. Thank y'all for your work. Well, the reason why I like to go last, and I asked to go last specifically, it just kind of happens organically, but I like to go last because I feel like my voice shouldn't be so much more louder or more important than the people that I represent or the people that I make decisions for. And in my mind, I represent District 6, but like my colleagues, we make decisions for everybody in Orange County. And as I listen to the public comment, it factors into, you know, something that I want to advocate for or against, or just giving a good understanding, because this process is a fluid one that changes based on stuff you hear from staff, research from our consultants, and public comment and the engagement from the commissioners. And as I look at this agenda here, it talks about, you know, you guys are going to spend some time talking about member priorities. I think it's important to kind of share, you know, my priorities. I think, obviously, I'm going to advocate for the maps submitted by the folks that I nominated to serve on this board. But like all of you, I trust your judgment. You wouldn't be here if you guys weren't well qualified to present to us a number of maps. But it is a process, and I think it's maybe a little bit potentially premature to say I'm not going to vote for this map or cut this map out. I mean, it's a conversation that's going to continue over the next couple of weeks. And so I'd be slow to cut things out, knowing that these maps can be amended any one way or another that make it more palatable to one or more commissioners. And so as you think about what maps you like, what maps you don't, what maps you want to keep, what maps you want to push forward, just think about, hey, do we have to make this decision today? Can we make it in the next meeting or so forth? Again, I know y'all want to go home and spend time with your families, and the quicker you get some maps over, the quicker you can do that. But I just want to put that on your plate. And when it comes to advocacy, I learned when I joined this board that District 3 didn't have a community center, and now Commissioner Uribe is on the path to making that happen. So when I listen to my colleagues talk about whether there's a center for them to be able to do things, I think that is important. But also, when I listen to my other colleague that talks about a commissioner not having any unincorporated areas, you guys have a lot on your plate. We signed up to be county commissioners, not county commissioners that have a lot of cities or little cities. We signed up to represent whatever the job calls for. And if I am not able to meet the need of the people that come to me, then that's on my role as a commissioner to advocate with my colleagues and or with staff to make sure that the people I represent have the services that they need, want, whatever it may be. When you move someplace, you know where you're moving and whether it's an incorporated area or not. But if, as things change and challenges present themselves, again, it's up to us as individual commissioners and us as a board to be able to advocate with staff and with our colleagues about, hey, we need to make some adjustments, whether it's hurricane, whether it's community centers, any number of things. And so I don't think that should carry so much significant weight. I think the focus needs to be on, are you listening to the folks in the communities as it relates to their ability to be able to engage as one group? And then my last thing, Census designated places. So those can change. Those can be added. The boundaries can be expanded. Let's keep the focus. There are so many things, and I think your focus should be the things that are given to you by staff from your own and your professional experiences, and let us as commissioners deal with the politics when it makes it to us. But again, I appreciate you all. I again don't have any one map that I love or hate, because I know that through input you guys are going to make adjustments. One note I do want to point out, and maybe this is putting my foot on the gas a little bit or not, but like, I went to Gotha Middle School when it first opened. I did Cub Scouts at Metro West Elementary, and so there's a level of importance to that area for me, because I mean, that's my community. You know, I grew up there. And I've seen it change, you know, new communities, new streets. I've seen so much change over there. So that's home to me. I've lived my entire life like some of my colleagues in the districts we represent. And so while I would love to see another commission district that looks like mine, if nothing else, I want to preserve the intent of why District 6 or the area of District 6 was created. Okay? So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. In the interim, we received one more speaker's card, so you didn't get to be totally last. I apologize. And while I'm at it, if there's anyone else who wishes to speak, who's not filled out a card, please do so. I see Winter Park City Commissioner Lindsay in the audience. Do you want to share a few words as well, or?
No, I already did last time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Warren. Cheryl Soriano, she will be our last speaker unless someone gets me a card. Evening.
I'm Cheryl Soriano. I live at 6612 Aladdin Drive in Orlando, and I'm a part of what we used to call the north part of Pine Hills. At one point, we had North Pine Hills, South Pine Hills, Pine Hills. So what we're trying to do is to make Pine Hills cohesive, I should say. We have been working very hard with the areas of Lockhart, Claricona, Ocoee, as well as Pine Hills. And in all of the maps, Claricona, Lockhart area has been looked at almost as a stepchild. It's been thrown into several different communities or several different district areas. And when you think in terms of the cohesiveness, the entire part of Pine Hills has worked hard to build the areas. With the cleanups, with the visitations, with the various activities, we have built a strong area. And when you consider all the work that has been done along the Claricona, Ocoee, Lockhart area in terms of speed changes, we're looking at work to be done to add roundabouts and other kinds of areas in that Claricona, Ocoee, Lockhart area. And to me, to make Pine Hills complete would be to take Pine Hills all the way up to the Lockhart, Claricona, Ocoee area and make that one area. The rest of it, I have no issue, but this is my home. This is where I work. This is where I want to see the rest of our community continue to grow and develop. So we are very diverse. We have a lot of fun together when we do get together, particularly at our last National Night Out. We had a lot of people visit us, and it's all because of the hard work of what we call the North Pine Hills area being added to the rest of Pine Hills and making that one district. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Soriano. At this time, if there's no one else, and there seems not to be, I will close public comment, and we will move on to review and approval of the minutes. They were in the portal as well as in your packet. Does anyone have any corrections or deletions to the minute, or is there a motion to approve?
I have a correction.
Oh, Ricci.
Sorry, yeah, this is just on page 2, section E. It says I am absent, but I was there.
Sorry, you certainly were there.
Yes.
We can make that correction in the minutes. So any other correction, deletion, or a motion to approve? Got a motion to approve from Mr. Affont and Ms. Jones, seconds. So any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed. Thank you. Committee, your light was on. Okay. All right. We will move, excuse me, into administrative matters and review of the schedule. Before I go to Attorney White, I just want to kind of walk you through what we've got going on in the packets today. As I said earlier, Co-Chair Evans and I met with staff for a good long time this morning. And what is in front of you, we asked them, we thought that everybody's notebook was getting a little unwieldy. So you now have 7 new maps in front of you. They're the same map, but they're consolidated. So this is all we need to have at these meetings going forward. Although maybe hole punch them, but notwithstanding, we've got 7 maps going forward, and we've got statistical comparisons side by side of each map of all of the summaries that should help us in our conversation. So we thought that might be helpful for us as we move forward. Second, you've got a memo from Attorney White, and I'm not going to steal her thunder, so I'm going to ask her to walk you through it. But what you essentially have is a procedure that we intend to follow for the next 4 or 5 meetings, however many it takes, on the winnowing of these maps down to hopefully 1 or 2 maps to present to the county commission. Now, I would say it's the culling of the maps, but my co-chair feels as though that's a little too Old Testament-y. So it's going to be winnowing process that we go through over the next several weeks. Attorney White, would you walk us through and deal with any other administrative matter you've got?
Yes, good evening. Before I do that, 2 things. I just want to ensure that the clerk noted Member Callen and Member Washington's arrival. Thank you. And also, there were 3 electronic public comments that were submitted. One from a Mr. Marty Sullivan, one from a Miss Rachel Kinbar, and one from a Jenny Wynn as well.
Thank you. We can put those in the record, please.
Yes, absolutely. So with respect to the winnowing memo, as you all are aware, the deadline for any, I'm going to call them electronic submission of amendments, is today at 11:59 p.m. So if you have any amendments that you are suggesting, or if you are sponsoring an amendment that has been authored by a member of the public, please submit that using the same procedure as you did for all of our other regularly submitted maps. So the steps, I will walk through the steps initially. So step 1 for our winnowing process is to provide anyone with an opportunity to withdraw their map if they wish to. After all maps have been voluntarily withdrawn, committee members who still have a map that is in the running for consideration will be provided an additional 5 minutes to represent their map or review their map with the committee, after which debate and discussion will follow. And then at that point, you all will entertain any motions for either approval or rejection as well. Step 3, I'm sorry, that was step 3. Step 4, if we come to a point, at least by August 28th, or really September 3rd, which is our final meeting, if there are more than 2 map proposals remaining, at that point you all will vote by ballot. So we will ask you to list your top 2 favorite maps that you would like to see advanced. And each ballot will be read into the record for transparency. And at that point, the 2 maps that have the highest number of votes will proceed as either your recommendation, or if we make it to the September 3rd meeting, depending upon if we finish on August 28th, those 2 maps will be advanced to the Board of County Commissioners as your recommendation.
Thank you, Attorney White. Does anyone have any questions on that process? I want to be clear. This is the exact same process we used last time. We found it fairly successful. What troubles me a little bit is we've got 18th, 28th, and the 3rd left to move forward. We have 7 maps, and no one has submitted any amendments, at least until this point in time. The deadline is tonight, to any of those maps. So if we are going to deal with them all on the fly, and our consultants are here, thank you for being here, and we start amending different pieces of every map and we're moving lines, we are either in for some very, very late nights, or we're not going to make our deadline. And we need to make our deadline. We must be done September 3rd, so that Co-Chair Evans can present to the County Commission for a workshop on the 16th, so they've got some time to get it done before November. So we've got to drive ourselves to some honest and sincere dialogue in figuring out what our priorities are. I said last week, and that's what we will discuss later today, I'm going to ask each of us, what are our priorities as we're looking at these maps? You know, we've got different groups proposing different things, and I just want to try to get a sense of where we are. And if you will share, if there are any maps, and you don't have to share it today, but before the meeting next week, if there are particular maps that you would like to make amendments to on the fly, which is what we'll be doing if we don't have amendments submitted by midnight, I'd like to be able to give our consultants and our statistical team a bit of a heads up so we can have those maps ready and just get ready to deal with those issues. It can be timely if we're all moving lines here and there and there. So there'll be certainly a conversation process as we move through, but the winnowing does need to begin. I'll stop there and open for questions. Angel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I asked this question last week, and I'll ask it again. How many maps are we planning on submitting to the County Commission?
So Co-Chair Evans and I, our goal is to submit 1 or 2 maps. I think if we submit more than that, I'm not sure we've done our job. Our job is to make this easier for the County Commission. We have the 40 hours of public comment, the 300 speakers. I mean, many of our commissioners have been here through most of them. However, our task is to narrow this down to 1 or 2 workable models for them. And our sincere goal is to get to 2 maps or 1 map that we can all agree on, or most of us agree on, and submit to the County Commission. Chair Evans?
I just want to clarify, I'm very comfortable with 2.
Okay. Does that answer the question, Jimmy? Okay. Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair. You all did a great job here. One of the challenges we have as board members is, I don't know how you all feel about this, but every meeting I have a different perspective looking at different maps. Even tonight, I saw some things I really hadn't thought about, like what map 2 is doing with Winter Garden and District 1, District 2. And so, you know, I'm thinking right now of maybe trying to come up with an amendment that kind of takes parts of my map and takes parts of David's map and come together. I just don't have the time to do it tonight and that. So I was wondering, is there a way we can have a deadline instead of being tonight, be Thursday night at 5? I don't know what kind of burden that would put on the staff if we do come up with that. I do think it'd be good to have us have an opportunity, if we look at certain maps and certain parts we like, to put something in writing and that says analytics because the software is really good software. I've been real pleased with the software. That's just my suggestion on that tonight, because tonight's hard to do. Some ideas came up tonight about a couple maps. Also looking at number 7, which is and I'm looking at that map more, maybe make some changes to that based upon what I heard tonight.
Subject to my co-chair, my thought, Tom, would be what we should do is if you'll just reach out to staff and have a conversation about what you're thinking. I don't want to move deadlines that we have set throughout the process unless the board feels otherwise or my co-chair feels otherwise. It certainly would be easier to have them tonight so that we can meet all of our timelines that we've had to give our staff enough time to analyze. But we're at the point now that we absolutely need to get some amendments in place. Clearly, no map is perfect. Let me ask my co-chair what she's feeling.
Thank you, Co-Chair Perez. I like our current deadlines, although I think that the conversation we're going to have tonight is going to continue to be informative for all of us here. My real question is for our staff and for our consultants, if we moved the timeline for amendments to Thursday, is that feasible for you all to make sure that the work is complete and the reports are provided in a timely basis for us to be able to review? But again, there's also the reality that at our meetings on the 18th or the 28th, you could propose amendments that, would be quote unquote on the fly. But I think the more background work that can be done in advance before it coming in front of the committee is the most ideal. But I mean, I could be convinced that it's appropriate, but I think TICO shares the valid concern about just how long we delay our work considering. So I guess I point the question to staff, is that feasible?
Well, I can only speak for myself. I'll turn it over to our consultants in a moment. But it really would depend on the volume of amendments that we get. If we get a high volume of amendments, then that may put a strain on staff in trying to get them timely completed. But I'll turn it over to Archbridge for their input.
We could work with Wednesday deadline.
Yeah. Because we don't have many amendments in yet, and I don't get the sense that we'll have a lot by Thursday, and I apologize to staff if we overburden you, but I think in the interest of moving the ball forward a little bit, I'm not going to object, and I apologize to consultants who just said Wednesday, but I'm not going to object to a Thursday, and we get as much done as we can get done. We're going to be, can you have it by close of business Thursday?
Yeah, the idea is I'm trying to take 2 maps and try to combine them into one, and not come up with alternate maps for each map. Just try to move the
just
ball
combine
down the
them into
field.
one, get rid of both, and proceed
exactly,
with one.
exactly.
Yeah, no, I understand. I think, does anyone have heartburn, notwithstanding, and I appreciate our consultants' comments about Wednesday, and we'll get as far as we can in the analysis, but we're going to be doing it on the fly after that, so hopefully we'll be able to make that work. Does it give anyone heartburn if we allow till Thursday?
Hand up. Can I say something?
My hand is up. I'm in the queue.
I'm sorry, Jimmy Coy's ahead of you in the queue.
Thank you.
No, she's not. I've been falling down. Though.
That's okay, Jim. You go ahead.
No, that's all right.
I'm more than glad to
You
follow.
asked for Corey. Let me explain what I'm trying to get to. We have the prerogative to come next week, take those consultants, and say, this is the map, change this, change that, and it's done. So we don't really need to say, well, present a new amendment. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
He could come and do his thing on Thursday, have it ready in the next meeting, give it to the consultant, say, make these changes, and they'll make the map, and they'll present it. So that's what they're here for. That's what I'm trying to get
No,
to.
I get that, and I appreciate it. My thoughts with the consulting team and our own staff is giving them wholesale changes, combining two maps, moving 30 lines is going to be very, very difficult to do at the meeting and on the fly. So I don't have a challenge with Thursday. Coy?
I don't either. I just want to ask, will the public also be allowed to use that same timeline?
Yes.
Well, the public isn't amending at this point.
Okay.
Only we are.
So, no, but they're amending up until midnight tonight, correct?
No, only we are amending.
Oh, only we are. Okay.
No, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. We are allowing public.
That's what I thought. I thought it was the public was allowed until 11:59 tonight,
That's what I was going to say.
and no
Okay.
amendments post that.
Well, I think we should be consistent across members
Yep.
and public if we're allowing that. I don't really want to take a vote on this, but I guess we can. Does anyone have a serious objection to moving it to close of business on Friday? Close of business is 5 o'clock. Thursday, thank you. 5 o'clock Thursday. Eastern Standard, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Time.
Mr. Chairman,
Where are you?
Over here.
Oh, Angel, yeah.
this is my first redistricting rodeo.
Is it your last?
No, I enjoy it. I
that's
want to be
fine.
back here in 5 years, but
I'll be here with you.
what if we take a different approach? What if we discuss some of these maps, perhaps advance maps that, for example, Member Callan's map is a map that's a workable map that could be tweaked. Same thing with Mr. Washington's map. Some of the other maps that are out there that could be worked on. There's some maps that are very consistent, that are very similar. We can advance some, we can vote to eliminate others, and then advance, let's say, 4 maps or 5 maps today to the next meeting. And at the next meeting, we could have some of these amendments done on the fly. Because, I mean, realistically, we're going to get out of here at 9:30 tonight. It's unrealistic for any of us to go home and work on amendments. We can do it on the fly on the meeting at our next meeting or the meeting after that. So, final 4 and then last 2, and we're done.
Co-Chair Evans?
Yeah, I would continue to want to complete the process. We talked about this in our meeting earlier, and I shared my concern about short-circuiting any maps before an amendment process has been completed. I do think there is great value in processing as many maps as any proposed amendments as possible through consultants and legal before they become maps done on the fly to try and enhance the integrity of our work. Not saying that our work would not have good integrity on the fly, but I think it gives everybody an opportunity to have a more informed evaluation of proposed amendments. So I continue to think that I think Member Jones made a good point. The members of our committee as well as members of the community should have the same timeline and the same set of expectations of maps that are quote unquote in play still. I also want to share that I hear the reality of similarities in maps, but I don't think that it's appropriate to toss one because it's similar to another.
Yeah.
I think that really kind of kills the opportunity for people to perhaps present different methods for collaboration. So to bring it back to the topic that Member Callan mentioned, I think the question was whether or not we want to extend to the Thursday afternoon, and that would be Thursday at 5 p.m. would be my suggestion and agreement here.
Jimmy?
I was going to go back to the original thing that I had. If you want to extend it to Thursday, my only concern would be, would the staff be ready to have everything ready by Monday? Because our next meeting is Monday. We need to take that into account. If there's 10 maps coming in, can the staff? But I want to go to one other thing. This is a unique situation. We're creating 8 districts. We're no longer in the thing that we're moving one street or another street or this. We are creating completely 8 districts. I have no problem really submitting to the Orange County Commissioners 3 maps. I really don't. I think if we listen to each other, it's not a bad idea. If they want to reject 2 of them, they can. But my concern is 2010, that 2 maps were sent. The first map was rejected within 10 minutes. The second map was rejected a little bit, it took a little bit longer, and at the end, the county commissioners created their own map. Giving a 3rd map, due to the fact that this is now 8 districts that they have to, and for the first time that I've been in redistricting, I've had commissioners come here and tell us that they object to certain maps. I mean, flat out, which is something also that we need to take into account. So I'm just putting it out there. I know that Tico feels that we won't be doing our job. Quite contrary, giving them more options to the county commission, the better. So I would go with 3 maps.
Well, I'm sure the county commission doesn't want 7. David.
I said 3. I did not go 7.
David.
Okay. I may be the outlier here, but I was ready to go tonight. I mean, with amendments, if necessary, after hearing what the public had to say. And again, I applaud the public, the community, and giving their feedback. And I've listened. My team has listened. And I was ready. If a deadline is a deadline, it's a deadline. In my world, you do it. You meet your deadlines, and you move forward. And so I have no problem with the extension, however, not too long. I came here ready. This is a arduous, difficult process, and I came prepared. So that's my statement.
Thank you, David. I see no other speakers. Attorney White?
Yes, so I want, this is really a point of clarification for myself, because in your memo that established a procedure for amendments, we included a definition of what an amendment is, and our procedures specifically say that an amendment that changes the overall composition or configuration of the map will not be considered. However, I've heard some sentiment that there is a desire to maybe blend certain aspects of 2 maps with one another. So would the committee like to revisit that definition?
Yeah, I'm with Camille. The definition is still okay. I don't want to, completely changing is very subjective. So let's go back to the question that Tom asked. And as much as I like to stick to our policy and procedures, is it sense of the group that allowing till Thursday, 5 p.m., because we have no amendments now, for members or the public to submit an amendment? Yes, Jimmy?
I submitted an amendment. You keep saying there's no amendments. I submitted one today.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Yes, it came through this afternoon. I'm sorry, I was pushing my button to inform
Thank you,
of
Jimmy.
that.
I had not seen that. Not seen it. Okay. Does anyone have an objection to moving the deadline to Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time? No? Okay. We will make that adjustment. Mr. Callen, thank you for bringing that up at the very last minute. Are there any other questions or conversations about the culling or winnowing process, depending who's in this chair? Okay, seeing none.
Can I just?
Yes, please.
Again, for everybody's benefit, I just want to walk back through that the numbering for the maps that we're referring to, maps 1 through 7, which are your accepted maps, as Co-Chair Perez indicated on this front page, the first one shows you the correlation. For those of you following along at home, if you go to the maps accepted and under review, they're numbered the same way. And underneath each name, map number, is the original nomenclature for the map when it was submitted. So it says, for example, map 6 says map 2025 Ofant 2, submitted June 27th. So you can do your diligence to go back and make sure you're tracking the right map in the conversation. I thought it was a valid point that there is, confusion, but I think there's also a valid point by Co-Chair Perez, as that's what happens when you have 7 maps. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Okay, everybody understands the winnowing process. Okay, wonderful. We will move on to Chairman's recommendation on priorities. Sorry? Yeah, I sort of kind of did that. Okay. Well, I think we're moving into the part of the meeting that I'm hoping we can be fairly forthcoming with each other. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. But because we have so many maps to manage and we have so many divergent interests, and, you know, we're hearing, this is our priority, this is our priority, this is our priority. I said last week I was going to move around the dais and ask us, what are our motivating priorities, so we can, particularly if we're going to be amending and changing maps, what has struck us in this process? I've learned a ton. I know Co-Chair Evans has. And what are we thinking when we're looking at maps? What's a driver for us? What's a non-starter for us? I think it's important to at least have that conversation out there as we move into the next couple of meetings, because we have 7 maps and 2 meetings left to deal with them. The third meeting, the September meeting, is to approve our findings of fact and move our maps to the board. So the next 2 meetings is where we're going to figure out who's what, what's where, and hopefully get down to, and I respectfully disagree with Jimmy, and I still would prefer us to do 2 maps. Obviously, if we have to get to 3, we can, but that is absolutely not the goal, and it's not how the procedures are established. So just so you know. Co-Chair Evans, do you want to begin?
Gladly. First of all, again, thank you all. I'm going to keep my comments brief because I'm hopeful that the members that are appointed by the various districts can help us with some insight on what is their view of the non-negotiables for each of the communities that they're appointed to represent. I thought it was important to bring us back to, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but bring us back to traditional redistricting principles: compactness, contiguity, preservation of municipal boundaries, preservation of cores of prior districts, maintaining communities of interest, general protection of incumbents. I put 2 big highlights on preservation of cores of prior districts and maintaining communities of interest. I think that it is important for us when we talk about the history of Orange County and the growth that we have seen, that a lot of times the growth has a lot to do with the strength of the foundation. And so looking at what we've had and where we're headed, I think the preservation of cores of prior districts makes that very important, and maintaining communities of interest allows communities who come to articulate their concerns the opportunity to make sure that their representation, reflects the concerns that they raise. I also want to raise the issue that I keep hearing with respect to what's happening in the East and the idea of unincorporated versus incorporated. I think there's real value in there being more than one representative for communities or areas of concern. So I think there's value in considering whether or not, the unincorporated versus incorporated split is a benefit or a burden for a community. If there's adequate support in municipal or county infrastructure and the representatives that those residents are able to meet, to reach out to and help meet their needs. I also think it's important to be mindful that, we have the availability of an entire 10% of population deviation. And we've had some maps that kept the deviation really, really close, and other maps that took it broader. And I think that, while we are being intentional about how we take this work. I don't think we should be scared to use the fullness of that 10% deviation if it is in fact, the best look for the entirety of the county. And lastly, I encourage everybody, as a member appointed on an at-large basis, to, while you are so focused on what works best for your home community, remember that you're a resident of Orange County, which is along with another 1.5 million people. And so while we are very focused on what happens, in the neighborhoods that our homes sit in, let's be mindful that we are representative of the entirety of the county. So I ask that you don't take such a myopic view of how you think a map is valuable or not. But those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Co-Chair Evans. I forgot to say we would like to, and I don't know if any of us would take it, but we'd like to limit this part of the meeting to 4 minutes apiece, if we can do that. And I'm sure we probably can. I think Camille was 3:58, so I think we're fine there. As far as my priorities, again, we're appointed at large, so I'm not focused on any particular community. The only thing I really want to point out and reiterate what Camille talked about is, as we are moving things around and changing lines around, we really do, and we will need to rely on that 10% variance. So that's almost a 35,000 person swing from 10 down and 10 up. So we've got some room to work and be flexible and negotiate. So if we have challenges in District 6, we can pick up a bunch more into District 6 up to that 10% variant. If we're short 10% out on the west side of town, or on the Lake Nona area, in order to anticipate maybe some possible future growth that folks have talked about, we've got that variant. I don't want us to be scared to go to those lines as we go through this process. That's what the consultants will be very important for. That's what our staff will be very important for. But as we move forward, I think it's important that we use all the tools in our resources in order to get to where we need to get to. It's going to be a very fun process over the next 2 meetings. As we winnow these things down, we're going to learn a lot more about our community and about each other. So this will be an interesting process. Corey, do you want to weigh in first? And then we'll go by district. So unfortunately, Bobby and Erica, you guys are always first.
I'm going to be really short because I see Attorney White wanted to speak. I agree 100% with Camille and Tico both. For me, a large part of this process was just hearing from y'all. Just coming to these meetings and actually hearing what the community wanted, what the public wanted, what the public needed to see and feel supported around. So I'm taking that into the room when we start discussing these maps. That's where my headspace will be. And I think I'll just, again, co-sign Camille on this, 2 things: communities of interest, keeping them together, and making sure we kept our majority districts in their prior districts. So pass this to Attorney White, I believe.
Yes, I'll be very, very brief. I just would like to caution the committee about meeting exactly the 10% threshold, because when we're under the 10% threshold, then there's a presumption there that we meet the one person, one vote threshold. If we're right at the 10% threshold or over that, we have to provide justification for the reasoning for that. So I would still, of course, it could be 9.9%, 9.8%, which we've seen, but 10%, if we're right at 10% or over that, we have a slight issue there.
Thank you, Attorney White. Bobby, you've buzzed in, but you're first anyway, or do you have a question? Okay, so we're going to start at 4 minutes. If you feel compelled to take more than 4 minutes, I'm just asking you to please try to stay within those 4-minute parameters. Bobby.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to my fellow board members for your service and time. I'm honored to be here. I thought Commissioner Nicole Wilson and I are friends. I don't know why she would do this to me, to appoint me to this board. But no, it's been an honor. But I think it's important to know one thing I've mentioned a lot of times as a rookie here on this board, that I'm surprised at the ownership of maps. We say it's my map, it's your map, it's our map. It's not, and I hate to throw water on anyone's fire here, but we don't have any power. The power lies with the county commission, and they're the ones that are going to decide the map. We are not. We are powerless, and I think that's a good thing to keep in mind when we're talking ownership of maps. So the mission is to give them 2 maps. And I think we will do that as a committee. And as I said last week, we have too many maps. I think 7 is too many. So I would encourage my fellow board members that have maps out there, please pull the ones that you know that are not going to make sense to move forward, because we are under a time crunch. As a former elected official, as a Winter Garden City Commissioner, as a state representative, I've lived my whole life except for 2 years in District 1. It's my home. I know it intimately. But I think it's more important that, we represent Orange County, and I take the time to learn about the other districts, working with the other commissioners and reaching out. And, that we're in a political process. And when you're in a political process, particularly up in a legislative process, you learn to count votes. And I think as I count the votes, I had 3 commissioners tonight say they do not support a certain map that has gotten a whole lot of attention. And I'm also an academic. And so as a PhD, I deal in statistics. And we have had an inordinate, a statistical anomaly on support for one map that, you have to ask the question, why is that? And so for me, when I look at statistical anomalies that are happening only in one instance that's not happening across the board or in other instances, that to me is a red flag, and I need to learn more about that. When it comes to District 1 and the rest of Orange County, I think the voters and the commissioners have been clear that we have to make sure we're keeping communities together. I think the best thing that we can do is making sure that we're moving maps forward that look as much like the current districts that we have. Like I mentioned, as a state representative, I represented the cities of Winter Garden, of Ocoee, the towns of Oakland, the town of Windermere. And I, as a former Winter Garden commissioner, I have never once heard ever anyone say that Ocoee, Apopka, and Winter Garden have to be together, except for the anomaly that I've heard since I've joined this board. So I just have to question why I've never heard that. I've spent many times in Apopka with my good friend Mayor Joe Kilsheimer, involved in the Florida League of Cities. I have never heard anyone in Apopka say that Winter Garden, Ocoee, and Oakland all need to be in the same district. So that makes me question, why am I hearing that? What's the motivation behind that? But I think the most important thing is the people of District 1 and the people of Orange County know that Bobby Olszewski will always put residents and community first, and we're going to go forward with maps that make sense for our community, that keep our communities together, making sure that all people are represented, not just special interests. So thank you for your time, and I end right on the nose.
Well, thank you, Dr. Olszewski. Who knew? Erica?
All right, thank you. I must thank Commissioner Wilson for giving me this opportunity. It's been such a learning experience, and it's been great working with you all, and obviously hearing from all of the people of the community. Something that has been very important to me in this process is to keep things as close to what they are or what they have been. I don't believe in just disrupting something because someone thinks that it's a great idea when you look at the impact that it could have on people and people's lives. I have lived in District 1 for 25 years. I've lived in both Winter Garden, and most recently I live in Horizon West, and I've heard a lot, as we all have, about the differences between Horizon West and Winter Garden. And it baffles me because we share addresses, we share schools, we share roads. What happens in Horizon West directly affects Winter Garden and vice versa. So it has been very challenging for me to listen to people say how we're so different, yet we're joined at the hip, but that Horizon West is better fit with Williamsburg or a Hunters Creek. Great communities, but we have absolutely no connection to those communities. So it's very important for me that we don't support reckless maps. I think that we have enough input from the community, enough input from board members that we have a lot of maps that make perfect sense for all of the districts. And so that I think we just need to be very careful that we're not being reckless just because a certain area has newer buildings than another does not mean that the people are aliens. So, thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Mayor.
I'm going to talk very briefly about District 2, and I just want to echo what my fellow board member said about the honor of serving on this board. I count some of you as some of my closest friends, and others, you guys are all leaders in your own right, in your own respective communities, and it's just a real honor to serve with you. With regards to District 2, I have one non-negotiable, and that's Lockhart. Lockhart belongs in District 2. That was reinforced to me in a meeting yesterday with Commissioner Moore. It's a non-negotiable for her. And then with regards to District 2, I know you guys say, you know, Lake Nona is growing like crazy and Horizon West is growing like crazy. Y'all haven't been to Apopka because Apopka is going to outgrow every one of these communities. The intersection of Kelly Park Road and 429 has been scraped clear of trees to the horizon. You can shrink District 2 on any one of these maps and come as close as you can get to the 10% deviation, and it's still going to grow over the maximum population for the next round. So I would if I can get Lockhart back in District 2, I will be happy, and just make District 2 as small as possible.
Thank you, Mayor. Angel?
Can I have the 2.5 minutes that Member Kilsheimer left over?
I will point out that my co-chair says no.
Okay.
But the 4 minutes is a suggestion that we'd like you to keep to. Obviously, if you need to go a little longer, Angel.
Well, first of all,
I knew Jimmy would like that.
First of all, I too am honored to be on this panel with all of you. Consider that there's 1.5 million people that live in Orange County, and 15 of us are responsible for recommending a map or two that'll go to the commission, and these maps will change Orange County. I've been one that's really departed from the traditional core redistricting principles for a number of reasons. If we're going to stick to the data and stick to the core, the one map that really leads is Alphont Maps 1. I mean, it impacts only the city of Orlando is impacted, 0 communities of interest are impacted, 11 precincts in Orange County are impacted. It's the one that has the highest technical value. However, I'm looking towards the future. So we are in an era now we're in unprecedented times, and I'll tell you why. There's one important topic that's being discussed around the state and around, it'll be discussed by the legislature coming up in a couple of months, and that's property tax reform. Property tax reform is going to be put on the ballot by the legislature, and it's likely going to pass because it's polling very, very high. Many Floridians believe that they're paying, property taxes are too high. One area, for example, is Horizons West. Horizons West in Orange County is one of the highest taxed areas because it's fairly new. So a townhouse is probably $700,000, a new one coming out of the ground, and the taxes on that townhome will be $15,000 or so. So with property tax reform, there's going to be change needed. One of them, and there's actually something going on right now that I've been part of these discussions this year, is that there's talks between Ocoee, Apopka, and Winter Garden about consolidating their fire department and creating a new fire district. So if the county loses revenue, the cities are going to lose revenue. So the cities are now starting to be proactive and look at ways to prepare for sudden tax losses, right? So there's a lot of commonality between those cities. We know that they're growing areas. I'll share some statistics with you. Residents in Ocoee pay $22 million of taxes to the county. Residents in Winter Garden and Apopka, they pay $35 million. Okay? So $100 million of tax dollars come from these municipalities into the county. And what do? They get the jail, they get mosquito control and animal services. City residents are double taxed. So these conversations are taking place, and I'm looking toward the future. I think it's worth a conversation to consider consolidating some of these cities, not only with some of their services, but also in some of these maps. I also believe that, for example, Maitland and Winter Park share a lot of common grounds. They share common ground with North Orlando. I also believe, as Commissioner Uribe stated earlier, Belle Isle and Edgewood need to stay together. Okay, these are cities that are going to have to work together to share services, and these maps are extremely important looking to the future. So I think it's worth having a conversation as we move some of these maps forward. There's some maps that are technically sound. Jimmy Alphonse, both of his maps are technically sound. The Henry map, too, is technically sound. And then you have the Callan map, which is really makes it, but it's a good discussion one because it actually splits cities. It splits Winter Garden. It splits Ocoee. The north, I got 5 seconds. The north part of Winter Garden and Ocoee are different from the south part. You got character towns on the north side built in the 60s or so, developed in the 60s or before that, and you have the south, where I live. I live in South Ocoee, which is in the suburbs. I've got Windermere to my south. I've got unincorporated Orange, and I got Gotha, and I have Winter Garden. So I think that it's worth having conversation. It's worth having debate on some of these maps. They're very different, and I think that's it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Angel, and thank you, Scott, for extending his time. Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Madam Chair. It's been a pleasure being on this board. You all pretty impressive people, and everyone has a good viewpoint and very respectful of the others. And so I do appreciate that and being included amongst you all. So being the cranky old guy, I'll go off first here. I agree with Chair, I agree with the compactness is important to me. My map was done on compactness. I've lived in Central Florida since 1963. My parents just over the Orange County line in Seminole County. Lived in Orlando for the past 30 years. I lived in all different parts of this county and area. So I was drawing my map with an idea of driving around the community and what I see the community is from my own personal perspective. No one provided any input on my map. I don't care about my map. There's some changes I'm going to make to the map if it gets that far. There's problems with that map, but I think compactness is important. There's a convex hull ratio in page 2, I believe, on the compactness. And my map 4, which is the map I did, map 6, which is, I think, Alphont 2, were the only maps that were compactness was above 70% on all districts. That means the other maps had missing the mark by about 35% to 36%. So that's important to me. But I think the important thing I'm looking at is voting age population. I don't care about your overall population. The voting age population is important. Some maps, the voting age population between the districts is a difference of 20,000. So that's important to me, is voting age population being equal and being looked at. The other item, incorporated versus unincorporated, that's something the county commission can do themselves. They can figure out a staffing for commissioners based upon the percentage of formula, based upon who's in the city, who's not in the city, who's unincorporated and all that. They should do that and figure that out on themselves. So I'm not too worried about that. District 5 shape is a big concern. District 2 growth is my big concern. It's going to be huge. Just like District 1, and that's a big concern. And so those are the kinds of things. Now, I don't know exactly where Lockhart is. My Sadie Hawkins dance in high school, we got a pickup truck and a trailer, and we bought some hay in Lockhart back in 1978. We drove this thing on the roads of Orange County without anyone stopping us, full of hay without a license plate. So that was back in the day. But the good thing about Lockhart and Clarcona, which I think is interesting, is we don't have many of this, is that it has the large estate lots. There's not many places in Orange County where you still have that. And so maybe that preservation at some point in time may come in something to deal with. But again, I have an issue. I don't know where North Pine Hills is. I drive down Clarcona Road once a week, and I see the difference in land use from north, which is a larger lot versus smaller lot, more suburban, the south part, I know that's kind of an issue there too as well. But I do think that and voting age population is going to be important. And I do think it's going to be important that we do go back to the core principles of compactness. I think that's important, and communities of interest. And finally, I want to add, I do think it's important that District 6 be retained as District 6, and that we make sure that district stays the historical significance that it has. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. David?
Okay, first I'd like to thank the public again for your input, your guidance, and making this process important for you all and bringing your issues, your kitchen table issues to our attention. I'd like to thank my fellow committee members, the co-chairs, for your patience and for your participation. I'd like to thank Commissioner Gomez-Cordero for her guidance and her warning to stick to the guiding principles that Attorney White has reminded us again and again and again. And that's what's important to me, maintaining those core guiding principles and taking them seriously. And that's what me and my team have done. And again, I was looking forward to having the amendment process over this evening, but I'm okay with it being extended. The input of the public is really important to what we're doing, and it means a lot to me. And I want to make it clear that can't satisfy everyone all the time. That's not what I'm looking to do. When I look at these maps, I know we can't satisfy everyone all the time. There are communities that are important. They all are important. And again, we try our best to satisfy their needs. I'm going to get in trouble for saying this? No, I'm not. I know that race is important. However, I don't want another lawsuit to burden the county commission. And it's a very important matter to me that we resolve what we can, come up with two maps, present to the commission, and allow them to make a decision on maps that satisfy the needs of the community, first of all, and meet the guidelines, the core principles, as stated day one when we started this process. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Rishi?
Thank you so much. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I, of course, have to start by thanking Commissioner Gomez-Cordero for this opportunity. It really just has been a humbling and wonderful opportunity to have the opportunity to sit with you all, to learn so much about this. There have been a few folks who've talked about their history in Orange County. I moved here when I was 10 years old. I'm now 42. For the better part of these 32 years, I've been here in Orange County, other than a couple of years outside for school and jobs. But this is home, and yet this process has taught me more about Orange County than almost anything else. I have loved hearing the stories from the public about Orange County, and years past in Orange County it's been truly wonderful to hear that. So thank you first of all for that. Look, my touchstones, what I've really wanted to achieve in this process, first and foremost, has been, and I guess I'm probably the only Asian American member of this board, and a couple of the other boards I've been part of, but this county is one that is incredibly diverse. And it's diverse not just in an ethnic or racial sense, it's diverse in so many different ways. I wanted to make sure that any board we come out with represents that diversity and a cross-section of the community. That was probably my one real non-negotiable thing. I wanted to make sure that everyone could look at this board and see themselves in it in some way. I am in District 4. I am on the east side. I speak quite a bit about the east side, so let me just bring up some thoughts on the east. I have brought this up a few times, but it has been important to me to try and make sure that the Alafaya area of East Orlando is separate from Lake Nona. And I say that, not only because Lake Nona is a growth area, but really there's very little link between the two areas. There's no transportation links. The folks who are on the part of East Orlando, Alafaya area, they want a park. They've been there for a long time. There's no parks, So things like that are what their concerns are. There are concerns about traffic, concerns about water quality. All those are major concerns. Lake Nona has a concern really related to growth. And in my time in both of those areas, the Lake Nona folks are always a little surprised to hear that they're lumped in with East Orlando, and the East Orlando folks are surprised that they're lumped in with Lake Nona. So that is probably my one guiding principle, I guess, as I look through this. Now, I initially did want a clean East that was all of East Orlando, but I think in hearing a lot of comments and hearing some of the comments from commissioners as well, I think I'm open to the idea of needing some parts of incorporated, Orange County into the unincorporated land in order to make sure that there's some sort of divide. So I don't think it necessarily has to look the same way I thought it would look walking into this process. But I think I still do think that there is a real need to make sure that Lake Nona is in its own area and the rest of East Orlando in its own area. I'll just end by saying this, no one map's going to make everyone happy. I think we've made that clear in this process. I have no ownership of my map. I may have my name on it, but one of the reasons I did focus on no splitting precincts was just a focus on minimizing operational difficulty in that transition. And so I will just say, I think whether we have to split precincts or not, I think most of these maps do. I don't think that is a necessary thing that has to be there. But I do think operational difficulty is something to consider, not just for the supervisor election, but also in making sure that we do try to keep the character of each of these districts together as much as we can while we move into 8. Thank you.
Thanks, Rishi. Gordon.
Thank you. Yeah, first of all, I would just like to thank Commissioner Simrad for asking me to serve on this board. And also, I got to say, I had a certain set of assumptions and ideas when I got here, and after hearing the comments of the members of the public, it's really changed my viewpoint about what's the most important things to our citizens here. And what I've heard loud and clear is that the communities are very important to the people that live in Orange County. And they are loath to see their communities split up, either split into pieces or even divided from their neighboring communities that they have long established relationships with. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about that idea, and you've heard my thoughts about this before. One of the most diverse and dynamic communities in Orange County is our urban core, largely the city of Orlando. But there are unincorporated parts of Orange County that also fit that definition, as well as some of the smaller municipalities. They represent one of the most dynamic and diverse populations in our county. And in contrast to some of the other areas that are largely homogeneous ethnically, the downtown area or the urban core is not really like that. It's very diverse ethnically, and we don't have a history, or at least a recent history, of voting based on ethnic affiliation with the candidates. We, by and large, vote based on issues. So while I appreciate the need to keep some of the municipalities together with some of the outlying districts, and District 5 seems to be the one that's really problematic because it's so far away. But let's not divide up this very diverse and community that we have in our urban core in order to meet the needs of the far-flung outer parts of our county. My ask is to respect and acknowledge the urban core as a separate community of interest and treat us with the same respect that the other communities have gotten. Thank you.
Thanks, Gordon. Jimmy?
Good night. I want to thank every member here. This is my third redistricting, and I'm enjoying this one more than I did with the school board, which was all about high schools, was not about community. I would like to thank the public, but I want to thank the staff. My wife worked for 21 years as a staff member, worked with Ms. Williams. She knows her well, and I think at times the staff of Orange County is not really fully appreciated, so thank you. With that in mind, let me tell you what I'm thinking here. Angel, you have a point. Maybe we need to divide. Maybe we need to consider what's going to come down the pike. But realistically, we're really deciding who's going to represent us at the end of the day and how well or how bad they're going to represent us. And that's necessarily whatever Tallahassee does, we're going to have to deal with it, and it's going to be coming down. But let me make a proposal to all of you. Let's put one map that is basically you feel comfortable with, splits up communities, split up cities, and you think it's a good thing. And let's put a map that doesn't, that basically just says, hey, there's two maps here. There's three. There's one map that splits one community by mistake. There's one map, and there's two maps that split up no communities. So if half of the maps you have don't split up communities, let's put up a map that doesn't split up communities, and let's put up another one and let the county commissioners decide. Because the one thing I've heard here constantly, and maybe I haven't heard it, we talk about the public. I have not seen one member of the public come here and say, hey, split up my community, because I agree with that. I haven't heard that. Quite contrary, I've heard everybody say, don't split me up. But in our wisdom, we think that maybe splitting them up is a good idea. Look, if it passes and Ocoee, Winter Garden, and Apopka have to work together, they're going to work together, no matter what the districts we put out there. But at the same time, I think the core of this, and this is non-negotiable to me, it really is, I put together a map in which basically my star was keeping communities together. And I'm very damn proud of that. I am. Now, I understand that some people think that we need to move traditional districts such as Winter Garden and Taylorsville into a new district. I don't. I really think you should stay with the core. But where I'm coming from is, let's think of this county as a whole. One of the concerns I have is that we're pulling to each side. This is my district, that is my district, and at the end, we're not going to have a good map. I have made a map that I think I've thought taking everybody into account. What is good for District 1, 2, Lockhart is in my map, so you asked me, so I oblige, and the same. So what I'm saying is, at the end, let's think of what's best for the community. And what's best for the community is for the community not to be split. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. You left 27 seconds on the table. Very, very out of character. Alejandro.
Thank you, Tico. First of all, I want to thank Commissioner Scott for the appointment. It's been a privilege being here with everyone. It's my second go around with redistricting, and it's this one is more intense than City of Orlando. Definitely more complex. But I do want to say that the process has been extremely enlightening for me. just learning from other communities because I'm very familiar with District 6. I wasn't very familiar with other districts, and I'm hearing from the other board members, and I'm learning about what the needs are, and I'm trying to work with everyone in the process just to understand what their needs are. And District 6, fortunately, it's fairly compact. It's in, right in the middle of Orange County, so there isn't a lot of wiggle room. Pine Hills is probably going to change, but for the most part, I see District 6 as a district that will remain fairly intact. So I'm pleasure to be here with everyone, and I look forward to just hearing from the board members and coming up with a map that will work for everyone.
Thanks, Alejandro. Jason.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Everybody's thanking their commissioners. Are we done tonight? I do echo everyone else. I do thank Commissioner Scott for naming me to this board. We will have a different conversation on September 4th, though. I'm going to try my best to be succinct, but I do echo a couple of my board members, a couple of the board members here about the importance of voices from the public. I know that we all have, all right, for lack of a better term, we're kind of forced to sit here and listen to the public, right? We do not have a choice, but I think you can tell how important the voices of the public were by the maps that have been submitted. So, I'll use myself as an example. I did not draw a single map. Did not. I listened to voices from the community because that was important to me. So if we're talking about priorities, how District 6 is drawn is important, but I also recognize that there has to be change. All communities cannot stay together as much as we want them to. And some communities are going to be split, unfortunately, even with some of the maps that I have presented. But just going back to the voices of the public, the reason why that was so important is because of diversity, but also because of who represents this community. District 6 is diverse. I know that we're at 48% for Black voting age population in that district right now, but there are over 40 communities in District 6 by itself, so it's not represented by just one ethnic group, one race, one individual, one group of folks. So it was really, really important to me to hear from as many voices from this community as possible. And I think we did that. I think that we heard from a vast array of voices and people. Two of the maps that were submitted by me are very similar. We've had this conversation, I think, the last meeting and maybe even the meeting before. And then there was one map that was wildly different. And that's because of who submitted the maps, right? We have, I think some of the folks, I think 7 is still back there. We had a map from District 1, or I'm sorry, not District 1. My first map was a collection of different members of the community. The second map was a collection of different voices from the community. And even the third map, a collection of voices from the community. So as we do continue to move forward, we have our amendments either tonight or on Thursday. I do think it is still important that we still talk to folks from the community, even though this process is kind of with us right now. It's still not. It's still really important that we hear from you all to understand, not necessarily what you're looking for. We've had 20 meetings to hear what your thoughts are, but more so how this county is going to look, at least for the next 5 years, and what type of representation do you want to have, and how these maps are drawn is going to drive what that looks like. So to wrap, just for 6, I've talked about it. It's not a chief concern, but the Black voting age population for 6, it's important. Again, not a chief concern, but it is important because of the history of the district. If we look back to 1988 or 89 when it was created, I think Angel has done a really good job of talking about the history and the data from that district, but that's the history of 6. That's why it's there. That's why it was created. That's why we are continuing to have these conversations about Pine Hills and Orlo Vista and Metro West and different areas, because that is why it was created. So it doesn't seem as if 6 is going to be bothered too much. That does hearten me a lot because of, again, the history and just preservation of 6, but also understanding there just have to be changes, and I'm okay with that. Just what type of changes are we looking at for the community, and what do you want your district to look like? I think that's all I got, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Jason. Bobby, if you'll hold, because we're going to move into general discussion, and then I'll pick you up there. I just want to close this part of our agenda out. Thank you all for your comments. Hopefully, we all took notes, and they're enlightening as we think through this amendment process, what may or may not move us forward. We'll move into general discussion. Bobby?
Yeah, I just wanted to just make one point. Whatever congressional maps lines look like, whatever state legislative maps look like, whatever county maps look like, whatever those lines are irrespective of a city's boundary map to create an interlocal agreement. They can create an interlocal agreement between cities no matter what we do on this board or any other board, because that's the only thing that matters, and they have the ability under the law to make that interlocal agreement without a county commission line, state legislative, or congressional.
Great. Thanks, Bobby. Okay, we are in general discussion. Is there anything left on the table to discuss from anyone? Any, Attorney White, any additional thoughts as you've been through this with us and as we face this week?
Nothing from me at this time. I would just like to reiterate that I'm available if anyone has any questions at all about as we advance towards the end of this process.
Levon?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just really quickly, I want to make sure that your calendars are noted that on Tuesday, September 16th, it is still tentative, but just go ahead and hold your calendars for the afternoon, starting at around 2 p.m. That is likely when your recommendations will be presented to the Board of County Commissioners, and it would be great if some of you can be here in chamber for that. So just want to tentatively put that on your calendar. We will solidify that and let you know when that date and time is final. And of course, your next meeting is next Monday, the 18th, at 6 p.m. here in the chambers.
Scott, any counsel as reaching out to you?
Absolutely. If anyone has any amendments, help, or needs assistance from us, please reach out. That's what we're here for. We'll help you get those submitted.
Thank you. Do any members have any additional general discussion comments? Co-chair?
I was thinking we could start reading from the beginning, all of our notes. I'm joking.
Well, we do have time.
No, we don't. Let's wrap this up.
Does anyone have any other comments? Yes, Tom.
Yeah, I had a really smart high school kid working this summer in my office, and I said, could you compare all the important data on pages 3 and 4 of all the 7 maps that we're looking at right now? And she came up with this and it double checked and all that, which looks at total population, voting age population, percent Hispanic, percent non-white, non-Hispanic white, percent black population, things that we all been talking about. So she made 20 copies here. I'll give the clerk a copy of this if anyone wants this. It's a one sheet, kind of a cheat sheet based upon the numbers from the staff reports.
It'd be very helpful, I think, for all of us. Thank you, Tom. Anyone else have any comments for the good of the order? Okay, let's just be clear. Next week, we're going to start either amending and or talking about maps. One of the things that we need to consider is if no one has an interest in amending a particular map, whether or not we wish to advance that map to the rest of the conversation. So if we get, 4 maps that get a bunch of amendments, because that's the core that works, and 3 maps that get no amendments, because it doesn't seem as though anybody's cared for them, or because obviously they passed, or they all do the same thing, so we're focusing in on that. We may want to consider, and again, up to the board, losing those maps on a go-forward basis. So I'm just saying, as you think about what you want to amend, as you think about what you want to propose, at the end of that meeting, and Co-Chair Evans is chairing that meeting, it'll be, I think it's a conversation to be had if at that point in time we take a look at some of these maps and say we're not moving forward with those for future amendment possibilities. So we all have a lot of homework to do in the next week, and although we've said Thursday, 5 o'clock Eastern is the deadline for new amendments, If you decide at some point between Friday and Monday that you're going to want to make some on-the-fly amendments to the maps, please give Scott a heads up so that he can at least start doing whatever he needs to do to make it easier for us during that meeting so that the changes on the fly work well. Anyone else have anything else?
Now that you bring that up, I have to proceed your question.
If you turn your mic on.
Sorry. If, let's say, you eliminate the principal map, would that eliminate the amendments, or the amendments will go forward?
Well, once the amendments, if the amendments go forward, then that's the new map, and the principal map will go away.
That's what I was trying to
Yeah.
say. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Anything else? Do I have a motion?
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure the clerk gets a copy of the, okay, thank you.
Great. We've got a motion from Coy Jones with a second from Co-Chair Evans to adjourn. Any objection? Seeing none, we're adjourned. This is our last meeting that ends before 9:30.